I met a man called Carl on Reddit, and we quickly became friends. We would share personal stories and vent to each other about our problems. However, I noticed that Carl had some strange behavior and extreme paranoia. Despite this, I continued to talk to him, hoping to help him through his troubles. One day, another person named John joined our forum, claiming to have gone to high school with Carl. But I noticed discrepancies in their stories. I was confused, wondering which one of them was telling the truth. To protect my privacy, I lied about my personal information. But Carl became increasingly obsessive and possessive, looking up deleted posts and demanding explanations. I didn't know how to handle the situation, so I sent a link on Facebook to both Carl and John. When John joined our forum, I discovered that he lived in a different state and had only helped Carl fabricate their stories. I was shocked and disappointed that Carl has been lying to me the whole time. I didn't know what to do next. Eventually, Carl found out my real information and threatened revenge for my attempt to uncover the truth. I was scared for myself and my loved ones, so I decided to ghost Carl and remove my online presence. I didn't want any further contact with him. In the end, my friendship with Carl was built on lies and deceit. His behavior became increasingly alarming, and I discovered that his entire online profile was fake. I had to cut off all contact with him to protect myself. I was 27 years old and living with my boyfriend, who is now my fiancé, in a small beach cottage. My boyfriend often traveled out of town for work or to help his parents who lived out of state, leaving me alone in the cottage. One night, I suddenly woke up with an overwhelming feeling to check all the windows and make sure they were locked. Although it seemed like a strange impulse, I got out of bed and checked all the windows. I found that some of them had been left unlocked, which was unlike my usual routine. The next morning, while waiting for the kettle to whistle, I noticed a clean slice in the window screen. It sent shivers down my spine, and upon closer inspection I found that almost all of the windows in my home had been tampered with. The slices were just large enough to fit someone's hand through, and only 3 windows were left untouched, the ones in my bedroom. I had been peacefully sleeping while someone was attempting to break into my home. I was terrified and immediately called the police. A detective came to investigate and found a single handprint on one of the windows. Unfortunately, the person attempting to break in had been wearing gloves, making it impossible to find any fingerprints. The detective believed that the person must have known that I was in the room when they tried to break in. Although the investigation didn't yield any results, I was left feeling scared and vulnerable. This incident taught me the importance of trusting my gut and taking necessary precautions to ensure my safety. It's essential to be vigilant and protect oneself from potential harm. I dated a guy who started disappearing for hours at a time. After 6 months of dating, he always had an excuse, so I didn't think much of it at first. But he became increasingly creepy, showing up smelling like chemicals and never introducing me to his parents or friends. I eventually broke things off, but he harassed me for weeks, even finding my work information and contacting me there. A month later, my car was broken into, and then I woke up one night to someone on top of me with rough gloves wrapped around my neck. Luckily, my friend showed up and scared off the attacker, and I moved out and got a new job. I never heard from my ex again, and I suspected he was the culprit. It was a terrifying experience, but it taught me to trust my instincts and be more cautious around people. I was grateful for my friend's timely arrival that night, which probably saved my life. It was a lesson that I'll never forget. I have two friends, Jessica and James, who have been together for 6 years and recently moved into a new house. They are very close to me, and I often visit their home. During one of my visits, we were having dinner when James discovered a lipstick kiss on the sliding glass door that leads to their porch. The height of the kiss print was above their reach, and they suspected me, who is taller than them, of playing a prank. However, I denied any involvement. Over the next few days, more kiss marks appeared on the same spot on the glass door. We were all baffled by the situation and suspected each other of being the culprit. I pointed out that the porch is challenging to access, as it is surrounded by high hedges and a fence. Jessica asked me if I had used my key to enter the house and write something on the glass door. I denied any involvement. As the kiss marks continued to appear, Jessica became increasingly scared and suspicious. She even called the police, who investigated the matter but failed to find any leads. The couple ordered a camera to monitor the porch, but nothing unusual was captured. The situation was unnerving and we were all on edge. The ambiguity of the situation added to the suspense, leaving us all guessing about who was responsible. We were all so confused and had no idea what was happening. The lack of closure was unsettling and made us all feel uneasy. It was a compelling mystery that kept us all engaged. In the end, we never found out who was behind the kiss marks on the glass door. It remained a mystery, but it definitely made us all a bit more cautious about our surroundings. The situation was spooky and left us all feeling a bit uneasy. It's a story that I won't soon forget. It was the summer after graduating high school, and 5 of my closest friends and I were excited to start the next chapter of our lives as college students. We found a house to rent together, located right by the campus. We were all broke and young, with ages ranging from 17 to 19, but we were excited to make our own rules and live independently. The house was situated in a neighborhood that wasn't exactly the best, but we didn't mind. One night, we had some people over, just a small group of our friends. We were all hanging out on our front porch, enjoying a few beers and each other's company. We called it a night at around 1 or 2 a.m., and all of our friends went home. The next morning, we were all woken up to a loud knock on the front door. One of the girls went to see who it was and quickly came back to alert us that the cops were outside. We all rushed downstairs, panicking and wondering what trouble we could be in. The officer informed us that there had been some sketchy activities on our front porch the previous night. At first, we thought he was referring to the fact that we had people over. However, he went on to explain that some time after we had all gone to bed, A man in his late 40s or early 50s had been lurking around, looking through all of our windows. The officer had happened to be driving by and saw the man peering in. When the man saw the officer, he grabbed an empty beer can from our front porch and sat down on one of our chairs, pretending to be drinking. The officer found this behavior very suspicious and stopped to investigate. He asked the man if he lived in the house, to which the man replied that he was a close friend of ours and that we had all just gone to bed for the night. He even described us in a horrifying amount of detail, some things he couldn't have known unless he had been watching us for some time. The officer could tell that something wasn't right, and when he ran a search of the man's name, numerous charges of pedophilia came up. Thank God for that officer driving by. The cop offered to give the man a ride to wherever he lived, and the man hesitated for a moment, insisting that he just wanted to finish his beer. However, the officer insisted, and the man eventually agreed to leave with him. The following day, we checked our windows only to find that some of them had been tampered with, and the man would have had no trouble climbing through one of them while we were all asleep. It was a scary thought, but we were grateful for that police officer who just happened to drive by. The cop even gave us the name of the man, and we looked him up, along with all of his pages of charges. It was terrifying to think that someone like that had been lurking around our house, watching our every move. It gave us all the chills to think about. We made sure every window was secured from that day on, and we were much more cautious of our surroundings. That experience taught us all a valuable lesson about safety and trusting our instincts. It also reminded us to be grateful for the people who look out for us, like that police officer who drove by and potentially saved us from something much worse.